On the 1st of April I tried the Enlisted Alpha. I didn't play it too much because I was busy editing the Eternal Review, but it's clear that the game is still in its infancy, well, maybe in its embryo stage. Still, there's plenty to talk about, because while the game is a skeleton right now, I can kind of see where it's going, and the alpha was lots of fun, and because I'm working on something big and I wanted a stopgap. Of course, keep in mind that all of this is alpha footage, so this video might be outdated fast. Let's begin. So what is this game? It's an MMO FPS made with the Warthunder engine. It's set in the Second World War and players fight each other with the help of an AI-controlled squad. Your squad can be upgraded between games and you can equip your boys with weapons and equipment provided you drop some. Squads can unlock more specialist slots and you can drop soldiers of higher quality and different classes as you play. The higher the ranks, the more perks they can have. For now, these perks go from useless to barely noticeable. Still, since upgrading the squad also gives you more squad mates, it's worth improving. The squads are either an infantry one, a scout one with at least a sniper, an assault one with SMG people, a pioneer one with AT rifles, a machine gun squad, which as the name implies is not useful at all, and lastly a tank crew. Thankfully, only 2 tanks can enter the battlefield at a time, so depending on how good your teammates are, you might not get to use the tank crew at all. You can have 4 different squads in your loadout. You spawn one and when everyone in it is dead, you spawn another. Dead squads become available again after a few minutes. They only showcased 2 game modes, a capture zone and a push. The former was quicker and the latter was a total slog unless the defenders got stomped. Still, push is more intense and I can see it becoming my favorite. You can switch to any of your men at any time you want and you can tell them to secure a point, stand somewhere or follow you. For now the AI is way too raw, not only it's missing basic features, like it doesn't call out enemy positions, it has too much trouble seeing enemies, it doesn't have an option to hold fire and so on, but also doesn't allow players to properly make use of them. There's no suppress command, no push them command, no way to divide your men in sections, they won't get in defensive positions while in buildings and are powerless against the tanks. I'm sure it will get a major update, but for now it's like herding sheep like extra lives rather than having a squad following your orders. Ideally, this game would become a multiplayer Brothers in Arms, but AI is notoriously difficult to get right in this kind of games. It would be the biggest hurdle for the devs. It needs to hit the sweet spot between demigods with perfect aim and special ed kids on a field trip. For me, the perfect combination would be being able to give them fire sectors and have them suppress units, thus forcing them to take cover, like bots already do in front of enemy tanks, while leaving marksmanship and flanking maneuvers to the players. Of course, that was just speculation. Maybe Enlisted will have shitty AI or amazing AI, we won't know until it's out, so for now I'll focus on the bad and good things that do have a big chance of making it in the game. Number 1. Variety. This modular system allows for a big variety of squads, levels, campaigns, factions, weapons, vehicles, you name it. If it gets half the variety of Warthunder, then it will be amazing. Although I can see that splitting the player base between each theater of war might make the game unplayable. It seems that their intention is to have many fronts, each with 2 playable factions sporting their own upgrade paths. This seems a bit excessive. I'd go so far to suggest just having each nation in the war with their own tech tree and then have the theater of war determined by who the matchmaking finds, with players deciding which of the theater permitted squads to bring at the beginning of the game. The variety could also translate to support. The basic infantry squad has a radioman that can call artillery strikes. This could be changed to different aircraft support, rocket artillery, smoke rounds, supply drops, all sorts of good stuff. Number 2. Vehicles. Vehicles will definitely make the cut in the finished game, but I can see plenty of bad and good. Having your own squad spawn with a truck, a jeep, an half-truck or a motorcycle would not only allow for easier travel in bigger maps, but also resolve a problem a lot of combined arms games have. And that's when somebody is relegated to driving a truck. You just carry people around until you get a bullet through your head. But if you control both the driver and all the soldiers inside the truck, then it's no big deal when the driver dies. What I don't like right now is how tank and infantry interact. The maps are way too small, the HE shells are way too weak, the explosive charges are not reliable, and infantry doesn't have a good way to disable the tank. And by that I mean immobilize or otherwise cripple it. AT rifles are actually somewhat overpowered when it comes to killing them. The thing about tanks is that if they get too close, then infantry has no trouble exploiting its weak points and messing it up. Literally every nation during World War II came up with improvised weapons that allowed any soldier lucky enough to get close to a tank to disable it.
Njet Molotoff. Njet Molotoff.
Well, that didn't work. Maybe a grenade? Of course, once Panzerfausts, magnetic mines, Molotovs and all the good stuff gets implemented, it will be less of a problem, but for now it's a bit silly. I do like, however, how infantry can damage tanks. A very lucky grenade, for example. So even bullets could, in theory, cause damage by disabling optics if properly implemented. But on the other hand, tanks seriously need better splash damage on their HE shells. This one is pathetic. When it comes to tank-on-tank action, then there's also the question of how fair it's going to be. The beta showed that in the Battle of Moscow Theater, Russian tanks go from the lackluster T-26 to the absolute brick that is the KV-1. Realistically, there's plenty of matchups that stock tanks have no chance of winning. Maybe tanks should be limited per class, or maybe heavier ones should only be available once your side starts losing. Number 3. The business model. This will make or break the game, and it's already kind of bad. Each of your guy could have 2 weapons, 2 medkits, a toolbox to repair tanks, grenades, smokes, explosive devices and a pistol, or they could just have a bolt-action rifle. With the basic assault squad, for example, you only have one guy with an SMG. Do you make him the point man and expose him to all kinds of danger, or do you make a grunt lead the team, hoping SMG guy doesn't get stuck on terrain or taken off because he was standing up in an open field? Once you upgrade your team, you'll have 4 different SMG guys and a sniper, so that won't be an issue. So if they face each other, the farmed squad is going to win every time. In general, close encounters in this game are garbage. You and the other guy trade and then try to make head and tails of the panic chickens shooting at each other. Also bad is the way you acquire new weapons. You need to unlock a chance to drop specific items, and all the weapons even have better versions to unlock. I'm not thrilled with this. I know it's in Gaijin's traditions to have you struggle with stock stuff, but while you might justify farming FPEs in Warthunder, I and many others would not enjoy bleeding to death for a lack of medkits, or going against 8 fully decked out soldiers with 2 weapons, 2 nades and 4 perks each using 4 stock grants. So when it comes out, 15 years from now, I won't touch it unless the business model seems fair. When it comes to FPS games, pay to win elements are really felt. I'm gonna say Enlisted needs to be lower than Warthunder on the Cuck-o-meter. Number 4. Performance. The game runs worse than Warthunder, but it's understandable. With hundreds of soldiers running around and the tank wrecks remaining in place, the game has a harder time running everything. Frankly, I'm kind of impressed it can pull it off in the first place, and on the upside, it looks very pretty if you can have graphics at a higher setting than I can. So those were my first impressions of Enlisted. This was an extremely early look at the game. I'm sure that whenever it comes out it will look and play completely different, but even in pre-alpha it was a lot of fun. It has a long way to go, however. I might cover it more in the future, so stay tuned if you care about that. Thanks for watching. See ya!
Fake Atari!